Jeanine Pirro. Thanks for being with us. Now, we're going to be talking about today's major developments in the Department of Justice throughout the hour, with guests including GOP House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy, Governor Mike Huckabee, Dan Bongino, Tomi Lahren, and more. But first, my opening statement. So just fired Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe claims victim status, seeking to join that elusive hood of crooks who feign innocence when they're caught dead to right, claiming his downfall is a result of a series of attacks designed to undermine his credibility and reputation. Andy, I don't know how to break this to you, but the only reason you're even in the news is because you're a liar. And when you lie under oath and to the FBI, you're a wrongdoer, you're a cheat, and you're an offender. So, McCabe, are you a crook too? Consider this. General Michael Flynn, who put his life on the line every day in the military, lied to the FBI about something that wasn't even criminal. And now he's a convicted felon. Martha Stewart lied to the FBI, and she is a convicted felon who went to jail. So you lie not only to the FBI, but to the Inspector General and under oath, and you were even given an opportunity to take it back, but you still lie. So they're crooks, but you're not? You're in the news because the Office of Professional Responsibility, after the Inspector General's investigation, says you made unauthorized disclosures to the news media, and you lack candor. You lied about the Clinton Foundation investigation, and you leaked information to the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, which you're not authorized to do. But we shouldn't be surprised. Your boss, Jim Comey, also leaked information to get to the New York Times because he didn't have the guts to stand up and say what he wanted to say himself. And you think you're being targeted? You're not that important. Nobody's looking to bring you down. But your wife gets $700,000 from the Clinton cash machine, and you handle the Clinton email investigation. A 5-year-old could see the ethical conflict of interest. And we entrust you with the power of the greatest law enforcement agency in the nation, and you not only use it to your own advantage, you use it to your political and financial advantage. And everyone knows that when you lie to the FBI, it results in automatic dismissal. Now, you claim that your firing is part of an effort to undermine the Special Counsel's Russia investigation. You know what? The only Russia investigation that should be going on should be one looking into Hillary and that whole gang for the Russian sale of uranium to Russia. But it's going to get worse for you, Andy, when your sidekick, Peter Strzok, and his girlfriend are called on the carpet for their criminality. You lied about your relationship with Strzok, who worked for you, while the three of you tried to affect both the presidential primary and take down a duly elected president by starting a Donald Trump Russia inquiry, when the only person who colluded with the Russians was your girlfriend Hillary, your friend Barack, and the CFIUS Committee of Clinton Foundation associates that approved the sale of 20% of our uranium to Russia with a payback to Hillary. Now, there were 3 pending federal inquiries into your actions as well while you were in the FBI. And you were removed from your post almost 2 months ago when the new FBI director saw evidence regarding your activities. And the intrigue continues. While you threaten Jim Comey and threaten that if you go down, everyone else will, Jim Comey writes a conciliatory tweet that, quote, "You stood tall over the last 8 months and served with distinction for 2 decades," close quote. He's clearly hoping that you won't testify against him. This is a classic crime family takedown. Who is going to rat on whom? If this were the movie The Godfather, Cardinal Comey is a capo di tutti. Andrew McCabe is the enforcer. Lisa Page is both the consigliere and the gumad, and Peter Strzok is a button man. And it looks like Strzok, who signed the warrant application to the FISA court, was a close friend of Judge Contreras, who signed the warrant. It's so damning that the judge recommended a social setting where there could be a surreptitious meet with a cover of a dinner party so the judge wouldn't be required to take himself off the case. Even Bob Mueller knew enough to take Strzok off his investigation because Strzok was so dirty. Andy, you can complain all you want that you were unjustly fired, but the facts contradict that. You should have been fired a long time ago. You should lose your law license, and you should have been taken out in cuffs. And that's my open. Tell me what you think on my Facebook page, Twitter, and Instagram, #Judge Jeanine. And joining me now live in a Justice exclusive, GOP House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy. Congressman, thanks so much for being on Justice tonight. What do you say regarding the fact that McCabe is fired and he's lost his pension?
Well, Judge, first of all, welcome to California. I hope you're finding that we're not all like the San Francisco values. There are a lot of conservatives of us out here. And I want to wish you a very happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, and especially in Kern County, where I saw you last night. Great Republican county.
Well, you gave a great speech, but one thing you've got to look at, and I know a lot of Democrats are out there and trying to make this a political problem, but it's not. An independent, nonpartisan inspector general found the information of McCabe lying, thought it was severe enough, even before his final report came forward, to send it to the FBI. Send it to the ethics department of the FBI, the OPR, as you said, the Office of Professional Responsibility. They are nonpartisan, independent. They looked and they believed he should be fired because every FBI agent I know, he or she believes in integrity. There's so many people that they bring before the court that they uphold because they lie. And they did not want him to take down the own FBI integrity by lying and going forward. But one of the most interesting things I have found is post the firing, what McCabe said. Take his statement, and if I was Comey, I would be worried. Because he said in there, when he leaked to the Wall Street Journal, that it was on the authority of the director, and they knew they were doing it. Well, that's in direct opposite of what Comey told Congress in May 2017. When he was asked the question in regarding a Trump or a Clinton investigation, did he ever authorize anybody or leak to information? He said no, never. So we know that McCabe has lied by the independent inspector general found it, and now he's saying about Comey may have lied as well. So I don't think this is the end of it. But that is why we need a second special counsel. And I give Chairman Gowdy and Goodlatte a lot of credit and all those members. They sent that letter to Jeff Sessions. He is looking at it. But we need the ability, because an inspector general does not have subpoena power outside of the direction. So we need somebody to look at this, and not from the inside, because you can't trust what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm. You know what's interesting, Congressman, is the fact that you've got Jim Comey gone, the director of the FBI. Now you have the deputy director of the FBI. And I think that it's just a matter of time. And the amazing part of this is that we have to wait for this stuff to hit the public record before anything happens in the swamp. But it appears to me, Congressman, that Strzok and Page are next, especially with the claim of their relationship with the judge who signed the FISA warrant that was based on unverified information. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, and I want to give the Judiciary Committee a great deal amount of credit here, because think of this: there's more than 1.2 million pieces of paper that deal with this subject. There's only about 3,100 pieces that have been sent to the Judiciary Committee, and a lot of that was redacted. When we just now found out what was the communication and talking about that FISA court judge, that was the work of the committee member going out and finding that, because much of that is redacted. And for 5 months, they have been fighting to find this information. That is a frustration, because we're separate but co-equal. Congress is supposed to oversee and hold them accountable. And if they're withholding that information, I believe a lot more information is going to come forward in the end when we get this all out in the open. And I believe the Inspector General's report, I think that's going to come out in April. Not sure when he'll get done with that. But he has uncovered so much of this, and that's independent, nonpartisan of what he's finding.
Well, and if you say, you said, 3,000 of 1.2 million?
Yes, there's only about 3,100 pages of the 1.2 million that I know have sent to the Judiciary Committee and to Oversight, and much of that is redacted. And part of that, when it came to the FISA judge, was redacted, and they went through back over and found the other parts that they couldn't see and pieced it together of what they were talking about, trying to get that small dinner party of 6 people, maybe try to influence this judge. And you know from all your work in the law, a FISA court is different than any other court. And the way they went before this FISA court, knowing that Hillary Clinton paid for this and the DNC, this dossier, using that, but really not telling the FISA court, just in a footnote of why they wanted to go forward and spy. And then when you look at Steele just a couple days ago in the New Yorker saying that he did know that the Clinton and the DNC paid for it, when the FBI had left that out saying they did not. That raises a great deal of questions that I think have to be answered.
Well, you know what, House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy, it seems like the swamp is going to be very difficult to drain, but the draining has started. Anyway, Congressman, thank you so much for being on Justice this evening.
Well, Judge, thank you so much for having me, and thanks for coming to California. You're always welcome to come back.
Thank you. And I want a view on all sides on this particular issue, so let's get right to it. Here with me in Los Angeles is Progressive Radio host and Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall and NRA TV contributor and former Secret Service agent Dan Bongino. All right, Leslie, I'm going to start with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Now, the question for me right now is, if McCabe is gone, and if McCabe seems to have contradicted what Jim Comey said under oath, saying that he leaked with the permission of Jim Comey, do you think these two are going to be at odds with each other?
I think they will. And I just want to be clear that there are many on the left like myself that don't have a problem, by the way, with the firing. We have a problem with what's happened subsequent to that. Even the FBI said, stop politicizing this. The president's very vindictive-like tweet, which I think is beneath the office of the presidency. And, of course, the president's attorney then saying, hey, we got to get rid of this, fire Mueller, get rid of the investigation. I'm speaking on behalf of the president. Oops, no, I'm not. And you know, as a judge, attorneys do speak on behalf of their clients.
But you know what? I don't know that that really makes any difference in terms of his being gone. You know, what they're saying. I think he said, you know, that he was targeted. His family's life was ruined for the last year because of the president. But Dan Bongino, let me go to you. What do you say to what Leslie just said?
Well, Leslie, you know, I disagree. You know, I think the world of you, but this is nonsense, Leslie. Donald Trump and his family have been under relentless assault by the hard left and their political allies. They were spied on. They've been under investigation for a crime. Leslie, you can't produce a scintilla of evidence even happened. And we're angry at him for some tweets that now finally he takes some kind of a victory lap because he's getting justice. I think it's a little absurd. And one more point on this, Leslie. You know, although not you specifically, a lot of the liberal blue checkmark brigade on social media, they want Donald Trump fired tomorrow. They want him impeached, which is incredible because they have no evidence to impeach him on any high crime or misdemeanor. But yet, with tons of evidence that McCabe was guilty of malfeasance and misfeasance, all of a sudden they're all upset about the firing. I don't get it. What is it? Do we fire people for evidence or not?
Dan, what do you think took so long? And do you think Strzok and Page are next?
Yeah, well, from what I'm hearing, I think what took so long is they're afraid. They're afraid of what Strzok, Page, and McCabe are going to say when they're unleashed from the bureaucratic chains of the federal government. I think that's what took so long, to be quite candid.
Well, what do you think? Do you think that it's inevitable?
I think it was regarding McCabe timing. I mean, you had Mueller do exactly what the president said he didn't want him to do, subpoena records regarding the personal business of the Trump and the Trump family dealings. And that's where part of the problem comes for me on the left, and not just for those on the left, those that have, I do trust the AG's office, but when it has the propriety that the president is, you know, picking up the phone and saying, hey, you need to do this. And then, of course, the timing right before the retirement, which is sort of like really sticking it to him.
Yeah, but you know what? If you you're a member of the FBI, you deserve to get it stuck to you.
Yeah, but it
You know,
shouldn't have been
this
now.
guy-
It could have
and by
been
the way,
earlier.
But you know what? Here's the thing. I hear from people in the FBI. I spoke to several of them today. What they're saying is that this guy McCabe was an arrogant guy. He didn't have a lot of friends. He drove his Porsche to work. And, you know, he was part of the triumvirate, you know, that right there on the 7th floor. And he thought he was going to control both a primary as well as a presidential election and impact it. Dan?
Yeah, Leslie, this is what I find interesting. You know, you and I are in the private sector. We're in the content production business. If nobody listened to our stuff, you and I would get fired. We'd be out of business because we weren't producing. Andy McCabe was the number 2 for 3 of the most enormous debacles in FBI history. Screwed up the Flynn case, they screwed up the FISA court case, and they screwed up the Hillary case. I mean, Leslie, listen, I get it. You know, a lot of liberals believe in big government. But if you're going to, I don't, but if you're going to believe in big government, you also have to believe in accountable big government. They don't live in a separate world, you know. They live in the same world of consequences every American who works in the private sector does. He screwed up and he lost his job for it. And it's as simple as that.
All right, Dan, let me ask you this. And you were in law enforcement. Do you think in the end that these people are going to start testifying against each other? Because honestly, I think McCabe has to be indicted. I don't think it's a question of wanting him to or not wanting him to. But if Martha Stewart gets indicted for lying to the FBI and General Michael Flynn is a felon for lying to the FBI about something that's not even criminal, McCabe has got to be indicted too.
Judge, where there's a lot of these guys and women here in this are in a world of trouble is going to be the leaks. There were some very suspicious leaks to David Ignatius of the Washington Post back in January, right before the Flynn case started. These are criminal charges, releasing sensitive, transcribed, unmasked information to reporters. There's a lot of this going around. And one more thing. That Flynn interview, remember, those agents in that interview were pretty convinced Flynn was being truthful. What do those 302s say? Those summaries of the interview. And were those 302s changed? This is serious stuff. I think a lot.
All right.
Pensions are the last thing they have to worry about.
All right, I want to get to Leslie. I mean, what do you think about that, Leslie? I mean, you know, Flynn, I mean, even people in the FBI think that, you know, what he said was not intended to be a lie.
Quite frankly, I'm not looking at the information that Robert Mueller is, and he's the guy that has the power. I don't. And I trust actually him, and I trust what he's doing, and I say, let this investigation play out,
But
period.
if Mueller got rid of Strzok, okay, because he was that bad to not be on Mueller's team, which is pro-Hillary based on all their contributions, the fact that Mueller got rid of him tells me he's in deep, deep trouble.
I don't agree with that necessarily. And by the way, I just want to say and go on the record, even if there is collusion and proof of that and obstruction of justice, the Republican Congress won't impeach this guy. They don't have the guts. They don't have the backbone.
Well, or maybe there isn't a basis. Dan Bongino, Leslie Marshall, thanks for being with us. And Governor Mike Huckabee still on deck tonight to talk about some of this week's most outrageous statements from the left. But next, Tommy Lahren joins me live right here in Los Angeles, along with Democratic strategist Ethan Bierman, to talk more about today's developments in the Justice Department and the White House. You don't want to miss it. They're next. More now on the developing news out of Washington. President Trump just tweeting within the hour that the Mueller probe should never have been started. No collusion, says the president. And here to talk about that and more is Tommy Lahren, a radio talk show host and author, Ethan Bierman. Thanks, guys, for being here. All right, so what do you say, Tommy, to what the president just said?
I think the president speaks for the American people. We are so sick and tired of hearing about this witch hunt. We're ready for it to be over. It's making the news when it should be the accomplishments of this president. He's tired of it. We're tired of it. Get him out. Like you said in your opening, nobody cares about him. Let's just be done with it.
All right, what do you say, Ethan?
Well, I think if there has been a crime committed, and conspiracy is really the legal term underneath it, you know that. It's not collusion. If there's any type of conspiracy...
Look, I want to stop you there.
Yeah.
And collusion is not a crime, so why are all the Democrats saying we're looking for collusion? Collusion is not a crime.
Agreed.
How stupid are they?
Collusion is an antitrust crime only, but conspiocy is a criminal crime when two people get together.
Yeah, well, why don't they talk about conspiracy? Conspiracy
I sure do. Every time I come on here.
Yeah, well, we thank you for that. But conspiracy should be what Hillary Clinton did with uranium.
Well, exactly. There's the real Russia story. As you mentioned in your opening statement, if we really want to talk about crimes, we should talk about Hillary Clinton. Why did they not talk about Hillary the way we're talking about Donald Trump?
Yeah, why don't they call Barack Obama and the CFIUS, all those people that approved the 20% of our uranium going to Russia? What's that about, Ethan?
Well, first off,